We now ask if you are able to please rise for the singing of our national anthem.
Oh, Canada, our home and native land, true patriot love in all of us command. With glowing hearts we see thee rise, the true north, strong and free. From far and wide, O Canada, we stand on guard for thee. God keep our land glorious and free. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee. Oh, Canada, we stand on guard for thee.
Please welcome to the stage Sarah Gagula, Chief People Officer and Head of Corporate Affairs of Walmart.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome. It's a pleasure to be here today. I'm proud to be joined by many of our incredible Walmart associates from across Nova Scotia, representing teams from Yarmouth to North Sydney. You can really feel the momentum in Nova Scotia right now. There's a sense of optimism about where this province is heading, from new investment and economic growth to the opportunities being created for communities and families across the region. Thank you to Dawn, the Halifax Chamber, and Premier Houston for bringing us together today. Events like this matter because they create space for important conversations about growth, affordability, and what it will take to build an even stronger Nova Scotia together. Premier, thank you as well for your leadership and commitment to helping position Nova Scotia as a place where businesses want to invest and grow. We're very proud to be part of this strong, vibrant community. Walmart opened its first 6 stores in Nova Scotia in 1984. Today, we operate 18 stores and pharmacies across the province, including 5 stores right here in Halifax, many of which have been recently renovated, hope you enjoy them, to better serve our customers and communities. More than 3,600 Walmart associates call Nova Scotia home. They're serving customers in their own communities, supporting local organizations, and helping families stretch their budgets a little further every day. And that commitment community matters very deeply to us at Walmart Canada. Last year alone, our Nova Scotia stores raised and donated $1.4 million to local charities, including the IWK through Children's Miracle Network, Breakfast Club of Canada, Food Banks Canada, and Red Cross Canada. These donations stay right here in Nova Scotia, helping support families and communities across this province. At Walmart, our purpose is to help Canadians save money and live better. And right now, that matters more than ever. Nova Scotians can count on Walmart for everyday low prices, no matter how they choose to shop with us. And as Nova Scotia grows, Walmart wants to grow alongside it. Last year, we announced a landmark $6.5 billion investment in our stores and supply chains across Canada. That investment will help us reach more customers, create more opportunities, and continue improving the shopping experience for Canadians from coast to coast to coast. Store announcements will be released in the coming months, but I'm pleased to share that our first Atlantic Canada distribution center in Moncton is already expanding just a few years after its opening. That growth reflects the strength and momentum we're seeing across Atlantic Canada and the increasing importance of local suppliers and products in our business. The facility helps us move fresh and frozen products more efficiently across all 4 Atlantic provinces while strengthening relationships with local suppliers throughout the region. In fact, Walmart purchases nearly $50 million worth of local Nova Scotia product each year, and we're proud to participate in Nova Scotia Loyal to help highlight the incredible products made right here in the province. Thank you to Minister Colton LeBlanc and his team for being such strong partners in helping to promote local producers and businesses. A few years ago, we partnered with Deloitte Canada on an economic impact study that found that Walmart contributes approximately $500 million annually to Nova Scotia's GDP. And as both Walmart and this province continue to grow, we believe that impact will only continue to grow together. Premier, thank you again for your leadership and commitment to building a stronger and more affordable Nova Scotia. We're proud to serve our communities across this province, proud to invest here, and excited about what we continue to build together for customers, for our associates, and for the next generation of Nova Scotians. I'd now like to welcome to the stage your Halifax Chamber of Commerce President and CEO, Don Bureau. Thank you.
Well, good morning, everybody, and Sarah, thank you for those very kind words and opening remarks. Good morning, everybody. What a wonderful event that we're here to be joined with this morning. Folks, as many of you know, the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, we exist to advocate for business, we exist to convene leaders, and we come together to help shape the economic future of our province. And folks, here in Nova Scotia, we are at an exciting and pivotal point in time. And we're experiencing tremendous growth and opportunity. We know that investment is growing. We know that global attention on our city and on our region is growing. And with this momentum, our business community sees enormous opportunity ahead, especially in the areas of defense, natural resources, and energy. And as governments and industries make significant investments across this province, our members of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce continue to be positioned to participate, to compete, and to prosper. We know to be true that our business community has the talent, has the expertise, and the entrepreneurial spirit to help build the future of this province. Now, folks, I want to take just a minute to acknowledge some of the positive steps that we've seen from our provincial government. First, the significant tax changes announced by the province sent a very positive and important signal to Nova Scotians and to investors. We're also encouraged by the Premier's leadership on reducing interprovincial trade barriers, and we have been nationally and internationally recognized for this move to create a stronger domestic economy here in Canada. And we are pleased with efforts that are continuing to improve labor mobility, to reduce red tape, and to strengthen international trade. We also appreciated the province's efforts to promote Nova Scotia internationally. And we know we're being recognized increasingly as a place to innovate, a place to live, and a place to grow business. Mr. Premier, we're also very appreciative and recognize the significant investments being made in healthcare. We know that healthcare is a deeply personal matter to all of us, including the business community, and we know that businesses simply cannot grow without people. And people need the confidence in the healthcare system when deciding where to live and where to work and where to raise their families. So, Mr. Premier, your continued investments in our healthcare recruitment, infrastructure, and access are critical to the long-term economic success of our province. Now, folks, as I mentioned, as a chamber, part of our role is to continue to advocate for what comes next. And there are areas where we believe continued focus and collaboration are very important. For example, housing. We are very eager to see continued urgency around housing development, and we know this to be true, that this is an issue that one government alone cannot solve. As we heard from a recent event that we had with Build Canada Home CEO Anna Bailao. Across the country, we're also seeing priorities shift as we seek new tax revenue and economic development opportunities. And I know the Premier will touch on this, but he has focused on the importance of prioritizing and aligning defense investments coming our way. This will be a significant influx and opportunity for our entire region. So, we as a business community, we're ready to be part of that work. We will continue to invest and collaborate, and we are ready to build a stronger, more competitive Nova Scotia for the future. So please join me now in welcoming Nicola Ray-Smith, Senior Vice President, Atlantic for Scotiabank. Nicola.
Thank you, and what a wonderful turnout for such an important conversation today. Thank you, Don. Scotiabank, the Bank of Nova Scotia, is proud to be the presenting sponsor of today's State of the Province Luncheon. I'll start with something that we all feel. These are not simple times. We're operating in a complex, fast-moving environment. Markets are shifting, expectations are rising, and the pace of change continues to accelerate. At the same time, there are very real pressures on costs, infrastructure, talent, and how quickly we adapt. And what brings us here today is how Nova Scotia is responding. Across the province, we're seeing a deliberate effort to lean into these headwinds, building on our strengths and driving growth in a way that is practical, focused, and collaborative. Nova Scotia, as this room knows, is emerging as a recognized hub for innovation and opportunity, particularly in areas like energy and defense, where there is real momentum. You can see it in the level of investment and in how this region is increasingly showing up on a national and global stage. And that matters, because when the right conditions are in place, you send a clear signal to investors. You can build here. You can invest here, and you can succeed here. What's especially encouraging is the alignment we're starting to see across government, industry, and communities, working towards something that is both economically strong and sustainable. And when you combine that with access to global markets and a highly skilled workforce, the potential is significant. So yes, the world is changing, but moments like this create opportunity. They challenge us to move faster, think differently, and focus on what matters most. And Nova Scotia is doing exactly that. As the Bank of Nova Scotia, we are proud to champion and support that progress, and will continue to do so through our significant and ongoing commitment to this region. For all of us here today, this is about more than perspective. It's about partnership, investment, and being part of what comes next. Now, please join me in welcoming the Honourable Tim Houston, Premier of Nova Scotia.
just a few. I have asked who your father is, and I give directions based on landmarks that are no longer there. I've never worn a sou'wester, but do know to tie up before a nor'easter. I've tapped my foot at the red shoe and know that Celtic colors are heard, not seen. We're the province that invented the modern ice skate, which makes sense because we also invented hockey. We're the home of Blair, Nate, and Brad, and of Sydney's beat-up dryer. We came into our own with wooden ships and iron men, but now it's our Olympian women that bring home the gold. We call it the old bridge, even though the new bridge is older than me. We didn't need Sunny D, we had beep, and road trips hit different when you stopped at Ma Webb's or the Chicken Burger. We know the colder the water, the sweeter the meat, and though it's fresh at Sobeys, it's even fresher off the wharf. Nova Scotians invented the telephone, the odometer, newsprint, and kerosene. We gave the world the propeller, wheelchair-accessible buses, and of course, the Donair. We're the home of responsible government, of Joseph Howe's papers, and a whole mess of very proud capers. We've the Oxford blueberry, the Valley's wine, and Farmer John as a staple at every holiday dinner. Here you'll find Maud Lewis's cat, Alex Colville's horse, and the glamour of our own Hollywood East. We flock to Lawrencetown surf and the Wanderers turf. Oh, and by the way, it's pronounced Scala, not Scala. Port Royal is Canada's first permanent European settlement, but it was founded in a world that Glooscap created. Le Grand Dérangement was our greatest tragedy, but at least we know where Cajuns are from. We're the home of Canada's Navy, the security foreman, NATO's R&D. We're the birthplace of the Rock's father, Theodore Tugboat, and of George Dixon's right hand. We were the first in the country to legalize that love is love, and ours is the province where Viola Desmond sat wherever she damn well pleased. Because of trade, we were the richest province of Confederation in 1867, and now the rest of Canada is again following our interprovincial lead. Inspired by the Black Loyalists and the Trelawney Maroons, we will not be bullied by those that look to oppress us. We were the first province in Canada, the first port of call for generations of new Canadians, and we will never be the 51st of anything. My name is Tim, and I am Nova Scotia. Well, thanks so much, and good afternoon, everyone. What a pleasure to be here. Thank you to the Chamber for the invite. Thank you to each and every one of you for joining us here today. You know, looking around this room, I have to say it's a real honor to be able to draw a crowd like this. And actually, we're getting used to drawing crowds. You may know that all through the winter, while we were inside the legislature debating the budget, there was also a big crowd gathered outside, people participating in the democracy and the democratic process. And listen, I'm not here to dunk on protesters. It's their right. And if you're not comfortable with the prospect of people waving at you, whether it's with 5 fingers or 1, then you're probably not made out for politics. But I do want to open my remarks with one observation from those protests that has stuck with me. It really made quite an impression on me. There was one day when I saw 2 protesters standing beside each other, holding signs. One had a sign that said, "Stop the budget cuts." And the person right beside them, which appeared to be with them, held a sign that said, "Keep it in the ground." And I had to do a double take. When I looked at these people. I thought to myself, really? You guys can't actually be on the same side. But neither of those protesters seemed the slightest bit aware of how irreconcilable those positions actually are, or of what is happening across our country right now, as a matter of fact. And that is what I want to focus my remarks on here today. Because if my government right now has one thesis, one mission statement, or whatever it is you want to call it, it's quite simply this. If we want to live in a province where our government can afford to invest more, not less,
in all of our priorities, and make no mistake, I want to live in that kind of a province, then it's never been more important for us to knock down the barriers that block Nova Scotians from benefiting from our own natural resources. It is incredibly important at this moment. So, thank you. So, in other words, I say you can fight budget cuts, you can fight to keep our resources in the ground, but you can't do both. Not honestly, anyway. There was a time when every single community in our province was thriving, every single community. They were fishers and farmers and shipbuilders and miners and foresters. Every single community was working hard and moving themselves forward. We had turned our natural resources into good jobs and a strong economy and thriving communities all across the province. And that, in turn, is what, for decades, allowed a succession of governments, both Liberal and PC, to maintain and make sustainable long-term investments. It was a model that worked. It was a model that worked because Nova Scotians were working. But I think at some point, we lost our way. And I think back to even during the Second World War, Halifax shipyard and the Dartmouth marine slips, they repaired more than 7,000 vessels. That's more than 24 ships every single week for an entire year. If you stop and think about that, damaged ships constantly coming into the harbor, needing repairs so that they could get back out into the Atlantic. And Nova Scotians got it done. Now today, we can ask, how long would it take to get public consensus to allow 7,000 damaged ships, 24 a week, to travel the harbor? How long does it take for us to build anything? That's the question we need to ask. Because where there was once a culture where everyone looked for ways to do more and do more faster, today we find too many people who look for excuses to stretch things out, to delay, to find reasons to say no. We got to the point in this province where we were banning entire industries and, in fact, trying to shut down even talking about them. But folks, there are moments in the life of a province when the question before us is bigger than one single budget. It's bigger than one single project. It's bigger than any single government. And this is such a moment. And the question before us is quite simply, do we believe Nova Scotia's best days are ahead of us? Because I can tell you, I do. I believe it with every fiber of my being. But those better days will not come by sitting around and expecting other people to pay us for not changing. Because doing nothing is not neutral. Doing nothing means falling behind. It means going backwards. And today, Nova Scotia's GDP per capita sits at the bottom in North America, 59th out of 60 jurisdictions. And even if you don't know exactly what GDP per capita means, you know that being next to last is not good. And it's not good. When the economy is weak, there are fewer new businesses, there are fewer jobs, there is more income insecurity, and some people are hit harder than others. We know these things. And for government, it means less money to invest in anything. Less money for healthcare, less money for schools, less money for housing, less money for the things that bring our communities together. Our rinks, our parks, our arts. Those things get harder to do and harder to pay for. But that's where the keep it in the ground thinking gets us. And that's where those who block any attempt and every attempt to build things, to build new sectors in mining or natural gas, that's where they want to keep us. They want to be righteous, even if it risks everyone else being poor. But believe me, I didn't become premier to do less. I'm not interested in managing decline. And frankly, this is not a time to manage decline. This is a time to move forward as a province. I will never be the Premier who puts Nova Scotia on the path of decline. That will never happen as long as I have a say. I want to do more, to build more, to grow more, to develop more, to employ more. I want people to earn more. So let's talk about what more looks like for our province at this point in time. And it starts with defense. We have always been Canada's capital of defense. 40% of the country's defense assets are here. Hundreds of companies, tens of thousands of private sector jobs, and almost $3 billion into our GDP. This has always been the case for our province. But what is different now is the growth that that sector is going to see. By 2035, defense spending is projected to near $150 billion. And if we play our cards right, we can be a huge beneficiary of this. In fact, more than $3 billion in new investments have already been announced. Projects that will see Nova Scotia serve as an Air Force drone base. Projects that will see Nova Scotia as a rocket launch location. Folks, even outer space is not a limit to Nova Scotia anymore. But imagine what the submarine procurement contract can mean for Nova Scotia. This is absolutely massive. It will mean careers for Nova Scotians. It will mean contracts for local companies. It will mean small businesses becoming suppliers. It means young people looking around and saying, hey, I can build a life right here in Nova Scotia. These are real opportunities for our province. I'm incredibly excited about what's happening in defense. Or let's talk about mining and critical minerals. We have the resources the world needs, and we can develop them responsibly. Because minerals don't just appear out of nowhere, they come out of the ground from somewhere. And the question is, whether they come from jurisdictions with weaker standards or if they come from here. I choose here. Last summer, we announced the Next Gold mine approval in Guysborough. This was the first mine approved in many, many years in this province. It will mean over 400 jobs. It could add as much as $2 billion to our GDP. And listen, $1 billion here, $1 billion there, it starts to add up, folks. And then after that, we announced the restart of the Little Narrows Quarry project, which is on track to be loading its first gypsum on ships by year's end. This is a big, big project. Then after that, thank you. And then after that, we announced the Atlantic Mining. Nova Scotia will be restarting with approval to reprocess 3 million tons that was leftover ore. It's just sitting there in stockpiles. And now it's going to be turned into roughly $240 million worth of gold. It means 200 people will go to work processing that stockpile. That is incredible, but we weren't done there. Then we announced the Antrim Gypsum project. This is a low-carbon gypsum mine that's planned from Carroll's Corner in Halifax County. That received industrial approval. 4 mines in just 12 months, probably 4 mines in 15 or 20 years, folks. Nothing says open for business like actually being open for business. And I believe with that momentum, the more talk in the industry, I believe that more mining projects will move forward this year. And that means opportunities for families across this province, and it means opportunities for everyone in this room. Mining is part of who we are. And we are getting back to our roots, back to what made this province work for so long. It is incredible, the energy I feel from the mining sector. But I feel no more energy than I actually feel from the energy sector. So let's talk about energy. No economy works without energy. No economy can work without energy. And today, So many of the problems that we have experienced in this province are a consequence of a previous generation of politicians who pursued short-term political gain over long-term growth when they banned entire industries. Folks, we are starting to use our own natural gas, and that is absolutely imperative if we want to have a more prosperous society. We have to start using our own natural gas if we want to have more energy security. Right now, today, this surprises a lot of people, and it's a shocking fact, but right now, today, we import all of the gas that we use in this province, and we import it all through the United States. We are completely dependent on the US for all of our natural gas, every bit of it. And yet we have over 7 trillion cubic feet under our own feet. And to me, it's absolutely ridiculous that instead of developing our own gas, we pipe gas through pipelines over about 6,000 kilometers through the United States to get here for us to use. And yet we have enough gas to supply the entire Maritimes for roughly 80 years. 80 years, it's right here under our feet. It's not theoretical, folks. And yet we continue to import everything we use because we have refused to have adult discussions about what is possible. And that's an abdication of responsibility, and it is a responsibility that I will not look away from. We will do everything we can to develop our gas safely and sustainably, because Nova Scotians have a right to expect that from their government. And developing this resource alone could be that straight line to those lower, more stable energy bills that we all know are necessary. Because right now we pay about $15 a unit for our imported gas. A lot of it's from Alberta, from the United States. $15 a unit. Albertans pay about $2 a unit, folks. Imagine the difference when we're not paying 15 and we're paying something closer to that. But politicians have been afraid to talk about this, but we need to talk about it. Because when you produce energy locally, you're not at the mercy of global markets. You have more energy security. And we've seen what it looks like when a province develops its own gas. We see that in our own country. In Western Canada, they develop their own resources responsibly. They create jobs, often for our children out west. They build strong economies, and they deliver some of the most affordable energy in North America. They do it with clear rules, strict oversight, and guided by world-leading scientific expertise. And folks, we can do it too, and we should. Producing just a fraction of that 7 trillion cubic feet would open up an entire industry of opportunities for every one of us. So yes, onshore gas is an active file for our government. Onshore gas is an active file in my office. And yes, we are focused on it, and no, we will not be scared away from having the discussion, because you have a right to expect better than that. And at the same time, as we're moving forward with natural gas onshore, we are aggressively moving forward with the Wind West project. This is an incredible opportunity for our province. Wind West has the potential to generate a significant share of Canada's electricity demand. I've seen the numbers up to 27%, 25% of Canada's demand from Nova Scotia, from the offshore. And for too long in this province, it has felt like the wind is constantly in our face. But this is a clear chance to put that wind at our back and move our province forward, because it means attracting billions in investment. In fact, the numbers that I've seen are in the range of $40 billion investment just on the generation side, and over $10 billion on the transmission side. And if you think about that for a second, our entire provincial economy today is about $60 billion. This one opportunity is talking about an investment on a similar scale. That is incredible. What an opportunity for our province. And folks, I want you to know we are going to make that happen for you. And we're going to make it happen because it means thousands of careers. It means opportunities for ports, for trades, for fabrication shops. It means opportunities for an entire supply chain. It means Nova Scotia becoming a clean energy leader for the world to admire. We are going to do the work to get that done. This is ranked one of the top or the top offshore wind opportunities in the entire world, right here in Nova Scotia, folks. And we're working hard to make sure that the capital is aware of that opportunity. The capital is ready to respond to the Wind West lease calls when they open, which hopefully is this fall. We're moving on that timeline. But the capital is ready, just like the capital was ready and already responded to our offshore bid process for oil and gas on April 29th. More than $210 million in offshore investment commitments were announced. This is a huge step forward for our province, and I am thrilled. And I am thrilled that $210 million capital commitment is championed and led by Nova Scotians. It's led by a Nova Scotian named James Edens. James is from here. He knows this province. He believes in this province. He's a respected industry executive worldwide. He's actually here in the room today. Maybe stand up, James, wherever you're at for a second. I saw him quickly this morning. But folks, let me tell you, when someone like James makes that kind of commitment, people notice. And you know what? Nova Scotia has done offshore oil and gas before. We all remember Sable and Deep Panuck. They generated billions of dollars in economic activity, hundreds of millions of dollars in royalties that went straight into healthcare and straight into our schools, thousands of good jobs for our friends and our neighbors. But Sable and Deep Panuck were just a preview, just a glimpse, because I know for sure that our best days in offshore oil and gas most certainly lay in front of us, and I can't wait. But I want to talk about why that matters for our province. It matters for you and your families, but it matters for our province and each of our neighbors. If you're not sure how that will help us, then just look at Newfoundland. Newfoundland has tabled a $600 million budget deficit. But if the price of oil stays roughly where it is, with the additional resource revenue just from the price of oil today, they could flip that deficit to a surplus with no other factors. That's amazing. Like, what an opportunity. And for too long, we've said no to those opportunities. Folks, I will not say no to those opportunities for our province. We will aggressively pursue them because we are choosing to move forward and build because it means better services in areas like healthcare, in schools, and in housing, and in the things that bring our communities together. Our rinks, our parks, our arts, those are all things that can benefit when our economy grows. But they're all investments we want to make, but we have to be able to afford those investments. And that's the path we're on. Because the simple fact is that to keep it in the ground way of thinking is just another way of saying, stop trying to get better. And I'm sorry, but over the last 5 and a bit years in this job, I think you all know me a bit better than that. That is not the way I work. We will never stop trying to improve this province, and we see incredible opportunities before us. And the good news is we have allies. I believe Prime Minister Carney is one such ally. I believe he is also laser focused on the challenges that we face as a country, but also the ones that he sees that we're trying to deal with here in Nova Scotia. But it's also very clear that the federal government is not going to ride in and rescue us. And they're certainly not going to ride in and rescue us unless we are prepared to do our part. We have to develop our own resources, and we need to do it fast. But listen, politics is what it is. And I know that not everyone is going to agree with me. My dad used to say, "You're never going to be able to please everyone." And I used to say, "1 or 2 would be good, Dad. Settle for 1 or 2. But I know that not everyone is going to agree with me. But I truly believe that this is the right path for Nova Scotia. And it's the right path in this moment. And when it comes to affording healthcare services, when it comes to affording all the investments that we know Nova Scotians have a right to expect and that they deserve, I am going to fight hard to get Nova Scotia out of that GDP basement and make us one of the richest provinces in Canada. There is no reason that we can't be that. And I know some Nova Scotians will have questions, and that's okay. They'll have questions about what this will look like. That's okay. And if that's you, I do want to assure you, we will listen, we will engage, we will share science, we will share facts. But at the same time, we need to be willing to grow. We need to be willing to seize the opportunities that are in front of us. And I know that that's where most Nova Scotians are. This province was built by people who didn't wait. This province was built by fishermen who went out before dawn, by farmers who worked hard land that didn't give in easy, by miners, by builders, by nurses, by teachers, entrepreneurs, soldiers, shipbuilders. This province was built by families who did hard things because they knew that their own future required it. And now, in this moment, with tariffs and wars happening all around us, unlocking our best future is requiring something from us again. It is requiring action. We can't stay on the path we are on and expect someone else to do the work to provide us with power, to build things for us. It's time to get back to the mindset that built this province. And so, in honor of the Stanley Cup playoffs, I have to say, it's a mindset that we never actually lost in hockey. We may have lost it in some ways, but we never lost it in hockey. And if you think about Sidney Crosby, a kid from Cole Harbour who became the best in the world, the greatest of all time, no one told him to think small. No one told him to stay in Nova Scotia. We never stopped encouraging our hockey players to think big. When they represent Nova Scotia, they carry all of us with them. And that is how we need to think about our economy. We need to think big. As your Premier, I will not govern for easy headlines today or tomorrow, although I'd certainly like a few easy headlines now and again. But I won't govern for easy headlines. I will govern for a stronger Nova Scotia in 5 years, 10 years, in the fullness of time, a strong, prosperous Nova Scotia. I will keep doing everything in my power to make Nova Scotia the most durable, prosperous, and self-reliant province that it can be, because I believe in this province. I believe in its people, and when we believe in ourselves, our success will be Canada's success. Nova Scotia is on the move. We are just getting started. But yes, it is up to us, and only us, to actually make it happen. So let's make it happen. Thank you for being here today. Appreciate your time.
Well, sir, well done. Well done. Mr. Premier, just on a personal note, I know how important family is to you, and I want to express my thoughts to the recent passing of your mother-in-law. Please know that we all are thinking and you're in our prayers, you and your family. So
Thank you for that. Thank you.
Well, to start by talking about hockey, you mentioned Sidney Crosby, the playoffs right now. Are you like me? Want a Canadian team to win, or do you want Nathan to bring the cup back to Halifax? Where are you on that?
It was pretty fun to see that Stanley Cup in Halifax when Nathan brought it last time. But if it can't be Nathan, then of course I'm on the Montreal Canadiens bandwagon right now.
Wonderful. That's great. Yes, exactly. Mr. Premier, we talk a lot about the defense sector. You mentioned it today. As a Chamber of Commerce, we have the honor of working with a number of defense-related organizations and the different supply chains. And what do we need to do to really capitalize on this potential in the province?
I think it's such an incredible opportunity. We're well positioned just because of who we are, really. I mean, I obviously grew up in a military family. I grew up on military bases across the country. I have great respect for those who serve. I'm very proud of my father's service. But that's just not my story. That's a Nova Scotia story. Like, everyone in this room has a connection to somebody who serves. And one of the things that enlisted members say to me is, in some areas, even in our own country, when they're posted there, at the end of the day, they'll go and change out of their uniform into their civvies to go to the grocery store or to go to night class or something. But in Nova Scotia, they don't do that. They are well received wherever they are in uniform, and I think that's a really important thing that's not lost on the military. So we're working close. We have a military defense leadership table of top brass and business leaders, and this is the envy. The brass tells me this is the envy of the country. Like, they go to other places and say, you should do what Nova Scotia's doing, because we want to work so closely, and that was part of the pitch we made for the Defense Bank, is that this is a place where the interaction between the enlisted professionals and the community is so tight. They're always working together. It's a great place for the Defense Bank for that reason. But we have lots of things in place. We have 40% of the nation's assets are here. And we have Diana, and we have Cove, and we have all kinds of people who are ready to step up. So we continue to tell the Prime Minister and the federal government, we're ready, and we're doing our part. Like, that's one thing the Prime Minister really wants to see is provinces doing their part. So I'm really optimistic about us gaining a big share of that increased investment that will come. We're already getting some of it, but really, I mean, the opportunities for everyone in this room are very significant at this moment in time. So together, let's go and get them.
Yeah, by all means. We have a few categories of topics we want to talk about today. Let's talk about resource development. You mentioned it, how important it is to our province. You gave us a call to action. You've been traveling a lot lately, having great conversations with international partners and investors. How are those conversations going?
They're going great. Look, here's the reality. So for our country, our entire country, for 10 years, people remember the 10-year period, there wasn't a single major project approved in our country. I mean, if there was one, there was one. But I mean, for all intents and purposes, there was really no major projects done. So when we travel, like, let's take offshore oil and gas. When I go and talk to executives, and I'd say to them, are you thinking about Nova Scotia? And they would say, I haven't thought about Nova Scotia in 15 years. So we'd say, well, we have to get you thinking about it. So that's where we're starting from. But we're putting a lot of effort in. We got a great team at Invest that's very focused. We have a great team of ministers and everyone's pushing the same way to let people know that it's actually action. Like, everyone says they're open for business, but I think the results we're starting to get that momentum. And I believe that momentum is going to grow and grow as people see that we're really doing it. But we have to go to our strength. We have lots of strengths in this province. Our location is great. Our people are the best strength. But we have great innovation sector, lots of opportunities in healthcare innovation and other innovation sectors. But our natural resources are right there, and we can't look away from them. We have to develop them. We've done it before, and we can do it again. We can do it safely. If others can do it safely, we can too.
Yeah. And again, talking about international interest, not so much on the energy side, but on the infrastructure side. I understand your long weekend was interrupted. You took a trip to Geneva, a very important trip. And maybe tell us a bit about that.
Yeah. So this is the glamour of the premier when you have a list at home and it's this long of all the stuff that your family wants you to do.
and you get a call and say, hey, there's a chance to go and meet with the owner of the largest shipping company in the world to try to convince them to invest in the Port of Halifax. Sorry, honey, I gotta go, right? So you fly Sunday night, all night Sunday. You get there Monday. You have a lunch, a dinner meeting in the morning, and then you come back. That's a great trip to Geneva, isn't it? But it was very productive. I know the port folks are here, really excited about the potential for the port. We have an opportunity to grow that port in Halifax because of our natural advantages. The size of the container ships that the world is seeing are growing tremendously. They're getting very big. They're getting too big to go up to Montreal or St. John's, there's a huge opportunity for the Port of Halifax to bring those big ships right here, and then maybe move them on a smaller ship and move to Montreal or whatever, or move them on Montreal, whatever. But there's a huge opportunity. So I think it's public, but I don't know. Maybe don't get mad at me, Port, if it's not. But the potential investment is like $600-800 million, $1 billion. So when you get a chance to go to talk to the largest shipping company about, hey, we think you should invest hundreds of $1 million in the Port of Halifax, you do that, you do it quick. And that's the philosophy, because we feel the urgency. People feel the urgency. Government feels the urgency too. So, I've said to everyone across every sector, if you think there's an opportunity for the Premier or somebody from my government to help get something over the line, we will be there beside you to help get it over the line. And I think we're seeing that start to pay off. So I'm really excited about the Port of Halifax opportunities. But also, we have other ports in Nova Scotia as well, and I think there's a role for each of those. I don't have to fight with each other, but I think there's an opportunity for each of those ports to be a major economic engine for their community, but for our entire province. So I was very pleased to go with the Port of Halifax over there.
Great. How's your list coming along with the things to do around the house?
That's a list, and everybody knows that list never gets smaller. So.
Let's talk budget. We talked about the interesting spring and some of the hand waves that you got in the spring. Mr. Premier, how do you assess our current fiscal position in the province right now?
Hopeful and there's huge opportunity. Obviously, $1 billion deficit last year, $1 billion deficit this year, $1 billion. You can't do $1 billion deficits forever. So we try to. In my own business career, we had this expression. We said that problem stretchers are out, problem solvers are in. So we don't want to be the government that just stretches the problem. And I hear people, just reverse the cuts, just spend, what's the difference? 1.2 billion deficit or 2 billion, what's the difference? Just spend them. But at some point, that's problem stretching. And I feel a higher obligation to each of you and to all Nova Scotians than to just keep problem stretching. It's hard to problem solve. It's hard. It's a difficult world right now. It's an angry world in many ways. And it's a difficult time to be a leader. Whether that's an elected leader or a business leader or a community leader, you guys, everybody knows it's a difficult time, right? So any type of change is difficult. But I believe in my heart that if we make those tough decisions now, and look, it's not really an austerity budget, guys. It's a $1.2 billion deficit, right? So we're still spending way more than we're taking in. But we have to be smart about that. And a lot of that deficit comes from tax cuts. So we're making a bet that by cutting the taxes and leaving money in the hands of Nova Scotians, that they know what to do with it, and that investment will pay off. So, but we're showing we believe in the people, but we're also showing that at some point there's a limit too. It doesn't grow on trees. But if we can work together to unleash the potential of some of these opportunities that we talk about, the pie will get bigger. And when the pie gets bigger, there's bigger slices for everyone. So we're very focused on baking right now.
Wow. Let's give that a clap. Let's turn our mind to healthcare, a topic I know that you care deeply about. I have had the honor of sitting on your round table of people coming together to talk about all facets of healthcare. I think we can all agree we've seen incredible investment and work being done by the minister, by Karen Oldfield, by Dr. Krista Jangard at the IWK. Incredible work, incredible. And congratulations on the recent announcement in Cape Breton on the new medical school. Let's just talk about that for a second. What does that mean to the province of Nova Scotia? Yes.
That medical school is very proud of what that's going to mean for Nova Scotia, what it's going to mean for rural communities. I mean, I had a chance to be there at the grand opening last week, maybe 2 weeks ago. The first cohort of students is there. I had a chance to speak with them. They're all Nova Scotians that want to be here. They're from Kentville or Meat Cove or Pictou County. They're from all over the province. So if you want to improve rural healthcare, then you need to educate rural doctors, and that's what that medical school is all about. So that's a big moment in rural healthcare for our province, but I think for our country as well. I'm excited about Cape Breton Medical School.
Yeah, fantastic. What further healthcare outcomes? Where's your focus going to be for the upcoming years? And what are you most proud of, just generally, about the healthcare improvements that have been happening?
Well, you mentioned the team, that healthcare team led by Karen and the minister. That's the best healthcare team in the country. It's incredible. Other provinces, territories, other jurisdictions are looking to Nova Scotia and saying, tell us what you did. Tell us how you're doing it. And we know there's work to be done. There's always going to be work to be done in healthcare, for sure. But if you think about how far we've come, so that need a family practice list, it's not the only metric in healthcare, but it's one that people like to mention to me. But that was about 15% of Nova Scotians didn't have attachment to primary care, and the list was going the wrong way. Yeah. But not only did we kind of calm that down and reverse it, I think it's down to about 6% of Nova Scotians still looking for attachment. We know you're out there, we'll try to get you attached. But just for order of magnitude, 6% of Nova Scotians. The national average is probably over 20. Like, this is an incredible accomplishment. We did that by a number of ways, but one of the ways is we created 80,000 new primary care appointments every single month. 80,000 new appointments. It's a staggering number. But what I want to say is I think that we'll continue to invest in healthcare. We'll continue to improve. There's other segments of healthcare. Once we made some progress on primary care, then we need to get into the specialist areas, more like women's healthcare. Yes, there's work to be done in women's healthcare. I feel that very, very personally too, that we need to address that certain areas. So we'll continue to focus on that. But I think now we're at a stage now where through technology and investments in technology, we have a really good understanding of what's happening in the healthcare system, like a really good understanding. The other provinces don't, like just the end. Through the app, we know what's happening. But one of the things that I think as Nova Scotians we need to do is take more our own personal accountability for what's happening in the healthcare system too. And I'll tell you just one example. 8% of appointments are just missed. So we created 80,000 new appointments every single month. 8% of them, they'll be filled and the person just won't show up. So there's a big responsibility that we have to go to our appointments when we have them, or to cancel in a timely. Things will come up for sure that you can't make it. But if we can get a handle on that, that will add so much more capacity to the system. So that's an opportunity for Nova Scotians to be more involved in the efficiency of the healthcare system. But also we're now on to the next stage of things. I know the MSI renewals online. There's a website. It's 2026, but it's a big moment to put things online and digitize these things. But through that process, we now have the opportunity as Nova Scotians to opt in to a couple of things. We can opt in to make our healthcare data anonymized, available to researchers. We can opt in, still anonymized, but say, hey, if I get a diagnosis, we know what it's like when we ourselves or a loved one gets a bad diagnosis. We know the first thing we do, we go Google and try to look for, sometimes you look for studies and stuff. Well, you can actually opt in now that says, share this diagnosis with researchers, and they could, if they say like, hey, I'm looking for a 56-year-old man with hypertension, then, and they could match and say, hey, we think we have a candidate here, and then they would reach out and say, do you want to be connected to this? So it's more choice and opportunity for each of us to be involved in our own healthcare. So this is kind of the next level of things. We will continue to focus on specialist care and primary care and making sure people get timely access to care. But now there are things we can each do to participate in making the system better. And I'm really excited about that.
Well done. Thank you. Let's talk about interprovincial relationships. Of course, you meet with your counterparts across the country on a frequent basis. What are some of the common themes you're hearing from your counterparts right now across the country in terms of both economic development and kind of just social development and prosperity?
Everybody has tabled a massive budget deficit. The whole country, every province, the federal government too. So I think one of the things that the Prime Minister has done, I give him a lot of credit for this, is showed every province, every premier, that that's not good enough, and there are things you can do that you should do, and you got to get going on them. So I think that message is generally received. Some people receive it quicker than others, and but everybody is trying to move forward, so they're looking for opportunities. But the interprovincial trade barriers is certainly an area. Ours are gone. We're on mutual recognition. If it's good enough for Ontario, it's good enough for here. And it's good enough for New Brunswick, it's good enough for here. We just ask that they respect the vice versa of that. So it's difficult, but it's still government. It's one of the things I said to my counterparts. It's still sometimes the pace of government is still a real thing. We always try to go faster. But I get calls from people that say, "Hey, I thought you got rid of these barriers, and I'm trying to get my product listed in Ontario, and it's not working." So we make a few calls and can get, there was a misunderstanding somewhere. It's a bit like whack-a-mole. You just kind of whack it as you go. But I think directionally, the country is moving towards a spot where we realize there are things we can do, and we have to do them for ourselves, but for the future generations as well. So we're trying to do them now.
Yeah, that's, again, excellent. Talked about interprovincial relationships. Let's talk a bit about Canada-U.S. relationships. You've had a few trips recently down to Texas, and again, the topic is around, I believe, energy. How are we received down there, Premier? What's the...
Yeah, look, I haven't had any. We have great relationships just through New England for sure. We signed an MOU with Massachusetts on energy. I believe we'll probably sign MOUs with the other New England states. I have great relationships with the governors in those areas, so that's all good. But I haven't really experienced any level of animosity on a personal level. I think everybody just wants to continue the relationship we had. We've been friends and neighbors and family connections we have, and the trading relationships we have. Those have been there for generations. They'll be there for generations. They're changed a little bit. They're all, we're always going to be more diversified. But I've never, let's say this, I can get more sideways looks or people looking away when they're uncomfortable with your presence, sometimes at a local Legion, than I get in Texas. So,
look, we're going to wrap this up in a couple of minutes. What's the best part of your job?
The best part of my job is just the interactions with the people. It really is. It's cliche, but this is I put a lot into being premier.
Yes.
I put a lot in. That's a commitment I made and my family made, that we would give it everything we have for this window of time that I have the privilege to be premier. And it's not going to be forever, I know that. But while I'm here, I will give everything I have. So I put a lot in, but I get a lot out. You get a lot out when things, when things go good and you can see progress. And I think that's what's, it was, what's the thing? It was the best of times, it was the worst of times. This is actually the best of times, because I can actually see the progress. I can actually see opportunities developing, people getting hired, I can see those. I can see the healthcare system getting better. But I know that there's work to be done, so that's the best of times. But it's not all good. Sometimes it's not, I didn't want to become premier to do less. It's not fun to cut somebody's budget. It's not fun to say, we can't do that. Yes. So those are hard conversations, and I feel those personally too. But I just know that every day there's an opportunity waiting, and I'll do everything I can to seize it. And we won't get them all. We'll make a few mistakes, but it will never be because we didn't try or we didn't care. I can assure you, we do both of those things.
Hear, hear. Mr. Premier, on behalf of the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, our 2,000 plus members, I'm still new in my job, so I'm learning all these stats, and our 2,000 members at the Halifax Chamber of Commerce, we represent close to 100,000 employees through our membership and through our affiliation of other chambers around the province in those important rural areas. We have a big touch, and for you to come today, we so appreciate you coming and sharing with us today about our amazing opportunities ahead, recognizing some of our challenges, but your commitment not to pull back from those, but to lean into them and to focus on growth. That is a message that we so appreciate. Thank you. Thank you for your work. Thank you for leaving your family on a Sunday afternoon and flying to Geneva with the future of our province first top of mind. So on behalf of the Chamber and our members, thank you so much for coming today. Well done.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Folks, before I wrap up, I want to Houston, stand up. Don't go anywhere yet, though, Premier. Stand up. Well done. Folks, the only way this is possible, thank you, of course, is with our amazing partners and our sponsorships. I want to again acknowledge our champion partner, Walmart, our advocate partners. We have Iris Communications, Willis College, We Ask Them, and the Insurance Bureau of Canada. We have Chorus Aviation as our host partner, also with the Nova Scotia Association of Realtors, St. Barbara Office Interiors, Event Wind Fuels, Gan Scotia Bank, amazing, thank you. So to all of our sponsors, please know that these events are not possible with your support. Folks, have a remaining best part of your day, and again, thank you for coming out. Have a great one. Bye-bye.